Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the stock market, guys. We're going to do stock market technical analysis, looking for trade ideas. Hopefully, you guys are finding value out of the content. I try to put out just straight, to the point content where we're looking for trade ideas. Okay, let's get right into it. Drop me a thumbs up if you find value as we go along. Triple Qs, a couple things that I'm noticing. All right, if you look at the daily chart, we've got a clear downtrend. And we are, we flagged out and we're continuing to the downside. Well, it's not as impulsive as I'd like to see, but it is continuing to the downside. So the flag right now is projecting us to make a move down to about right there, about 321 or, 320. I don't have a support level there. So what I would say is the nearest support level that I have is about that 316 area. So that's likely the projection. One thing that I'm kind of noticing, so we'll see if this plays out, but we have bullish divergence now. Not fully confirmed, but you'll see that we did make a new low right here on this today, basically. And we've got higher momentum. Momentum starting to move higher right there on the PPO and the RSI. Okay, so whether that plays out or not, I don't know, but it is there. So I definitely want to pay attention to that. That might get us a rally. All right, so keeping an eye there. If I go to the weekly chart, weekly still negative momentum. We still have momentum dropping down lower, and we have prices moving lower. So bigger picture, I still see more downside, but in the short term, maybe a small rally. And looking at the hourly chart on triple Qs, if we get that rally based on this bullish divergence, and you'll see it's here, it's pretty well defined here on the hourly chart as well. So you'll see here that we basically are moving up in momentum on the PPO and the RSI here. Okay, and we made a new lower low in price right there. So that's a divergent low. So that could be good for a rally at a minimum up to the downtrend line right up here at about 356. And I probably need to modify this just slightly. Let me kind of tweak that down. It's actually, the downtrend line is actually right about there, 355.50. And yeah, I would say that's likely going to be the area where the downtrend or the rally, if we get one, should stop. Flipping over to the SPY, on the hourly chart, we don't quite have that negative divergence, so we only have it there in tech. So that's one thing to look at. Usually when you want to see just general market consensus, you want to see it in the SPY and the triple Qs. We don't have it there in triple Qs. On the daily, yeah, we could say it's there on the daily. We didn't make a new lower low, but we're kind of dipping down into that former wick right there. And so that might be good for a rally as well. But again, we have to take this with a grain of salt. We've got major sell signals on the weekly charts. So if you go to the weekly on the SPY, going back to the weekly, if I look at, here's my 2009 lows, here's my bull market trend going back the last decade. Broke trend here. The Fed came in and cut rates and did stimulus. Broke trend here, or we back tested the trend line. Fed came in. Again, the Fed is not going to come in at least anytime soon. So we've broken trend again. We're on a weekly sell signal. We back tested. So any kind of counter trend bounce, I think, is going to be relatively small, and then will likely over the coming weeks continue lower. Okay, gold. So gold has been one of the best performing sectors actually in the S&P 500 minus oil. Doing really well so far on the long side. So again, we had our asymmetrical triangle marked out here. This is our big corrective pattern that we've been in for the last couple of years. Broke out to the upside. Again, I wasn't, we were buying gold in, back down here at support. So again, it's not about just sitting in gold forever. We sold all our gold miners back here in August of 2020, started buying them back, little by little, basically started building a position back in March of 21, and I've been buying at support ever since. So now we're breaking out. Looks like we're going to probably flag out here a little bit. If I look at the hourly chart, We do have a little bit of negative divergence. See it right there? The momentum's dropping off and we keep making highs, divergent high, divergent high. So I think gold's probably going to get a little pullback. And looking at the daily, you know, you've got a breakout. It's probably due for a pullback to the trend line right there. All right, so that's what it looks like it's going to do, and that's where I'd want to be buying at support. You know, gold bullion here did hit a level of resistance, which comes from this former high right here. You can see some basic resistance. So maybe we get the pullback here, back test that trend line, which should now be support, and that would be a very objective area to go long or buy the miners if you haven't, you know, if you don't already have a position. I'm taking the stance right now that I'm looking to buy the dips in gold. So, you know, if we get that pullback, that's an objective area to add to a position. Nvidia, so Nvidia is bouncing off the 200-day again. Nvidia had a nice clean uptrend line coming off the March 2020 lows. So I've got every single tag of support circled. We broke trend, we back tested. And you can see when we broke trend, we traded right down to the 200-day right there. They held. We then back tested, created this flag, and now we're continuing the flag. And we hit the 200 again today, so it makes sense that we're bouncing here. This shouldn't hold, most likely, and I think we will continue lower in the near future. But it makes sense that we're seeing a small bounce off the 200 again. They're going to try to hold the 200, and if you roll out and look at Nvidia on the daily chart, you can see really ever since March 2020, every single little tag of the 200, they've really tried to hold. So okay, we'll see where this goes, but I do think it probably likely sells off. Nvidia here on the daily, no real bullish divergence. So you'll see here that we traded up. We're kind of selling down a little bit, but higher price than before, and we just have kind of momentum moving higher a little bit. So there's no divergence. It tells me that we're likely continuing the downtrend. Divergence oftentimes tells you that the trend is about to end. So you look for that to give you a cue on when to maybe exit a short position. But for now, I see price moving down, little counter trend bounce. We're starting to roll over, momentum moving down, counter trend bounce and momentum. And I think we start to roll over in momentum, making a new lower low and continuing the downtrend. Okay, keep an eye on oil. So oil futures here, you'll see this uptrend line on the daily. We broke the trend the other day. And so we had a sell signal and we had that back test. I talked about that. I said, you know, oil's been really strong, so I could completely expect a back test. And sure enough, we did get that back test of that trend line. We were rejected off of there. Now, we might trade higher and just put in a slightly new high, but I think that's probably good for the rejection. And so I think there's a short opportunity coming up in oil and maybe some of these oil stocks. I'm looking at this DVN one here. You'll see here on the daily chart, pretty big sell down today, kind of a reversal. Still above trend though, so we don't have that sell signal yet. I'm just want to continue to point it out. DVN, you have a clear uptrend line coming off October of 2020. You can see all the tags of support here. A little bear trap right there, but there's another tag. Now we're looking for a break of this trend line. A nice impulsive sell down break candle should be our sell signal. We have negative divergence right here, so momentum's moving lower. If I can grab that tool right there, while price is continuing to move higher. So momentum is a leading indicator telling us that we're likely running out of steam on this this oil trade in the near term. And what I'm looking for is a correction in the oil trade. All right, so not necessarily longer term, a longer term trend reversal, but looking for a correction. Again, looking for that sell signal or that break of this trend line to initiate a short position. So we'll just keep this one on watch. And KHC, now I'm not in this trade. They shook me out of it. We were really trying to get this trade, but it just got too really shaky. But we were looking at major support right here at about 35.46. You'll see here as I roll out, going all the way back to 2019, there was a huge gap down, and it gapped right to that level. And that level proved to be resistance for quite a while. Finally, we broke above that level right there and came down, tagged it as support, but then it started to get real choppy, and this ended up being bear traps here. But you can see pretty impulsive buying in this thing over the last week. Big green candles. Looks like they're heading straight up to the gap fill, which is right up here at 48. All right, there looks like that's exactly where it's heading. So again, it's not objective to go long on this anymore because we're too far away from any kind of support level, but just want to point that one out, what's going on there in case anyone's stuck with it. Okay, I've been scanning around. I don't see anything that's that's that much more interesting than what I've already pointed out. So again, maybe we get a little counter trend bounce. I'm looking for more downside here in the next few days to weeks, and I still don't see these as objective levels to get out of the shorts. With IWM, we're still looking for this level 170 area. We've got a bear flag, right here. Nice clean bear flag. There's your flag. Continue the flagpole breakdown, and it still puts us down there. We've already broken down out of the flag, so to see a little buying today is not any concern to me. I still think that there's likely, we're probably going to start to gap down in the coming days. There's a lot of headline risk right now with obviously the news, and the market's trading on it, so we could have some negative headline come out overnight and gap down and continue selling. So that's what I'm watching, and we'll just pick it up tomorrow. Thanks, guys.